So your fulfillment checklist, gather a clear understanding of vendor compliances and requirements. So every single different channel that you're sending your good through is going to have a set of expectations for your good. In some cases, they can be as simple as just they require the pallet to be labeled with the final destination and show the quantity, and you have to send a bill of lading. Or they can be as specific as label placement within a standard as tight as 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch, because this good is going to a facility where it is going to be received by some sort of automated process, or special standards for compliance labeling, or special standards for pallet type, for good placement on the pallet, all of those different kinds of things. I've seen compliance guides as simple as a single sentence on a page, and I've seen other compliance guides that are 168 pages long and very, very specific. So gathering a clear understanding of what your vendor compliance looks like also goes a long way to understand what your shipping costs are going to be.
So before you get into that, Mark, can you explain here who they is? Who would a vendor be? What is an example of what a vendor would be in a fulfillment scenario?
So a vendor in this case would be the intermediary that you're selling through. So if you're selling through like Amazon, or if you're selling through Walmart, or if you're selling through like Chewy.com or anything of that nature, if you use their services to host their product, even if you're not having them do the direct fulfillment, they still require you to meet their standards to ship a product to the customer that ordered the material through their website.
So basically it's a retailer.
Yes, it is a retailer, 100%. Yep.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that.
Mm-hmm. So the second point, have a clear understanding of your fulfillment costs. So everything from the costs of getting your good inspected and received into the facility, all the way through all of the points that we discussed at the beginning of the PowerPoint and in the previous point above, to taking the good directly to market, whether that's through a retailer channel or whether that's, directly to an end user. Leveraging shipping price points through contracted carriers. So in some cases, if you're doing shipments like UPS, FedEx, DHL, and you're consistently doing amounts of shipments, you definitely can benefit from advantages and price points based on volume. But the same thing is true through LTL carriers too. If you're going to send out a lot of large bulk orders on a kind of weekly, monthly, bi-monthly interval, then it's definitely advantageous to have work through the potential of having a contracted carrier that you work with all the time, and you're leveraging not only that price point against the amount of the material that you're sending this time around, but that you traditionally send all the time around. The next point, establishing advanced shipping notifications with carriers. So what this means is just establishing a system with the carriers, and any good carrier will have this capability where your final end user customer can get information about the status of their shipment. Whether it's scheduled to pick up on this day, shipped on this day, scheduled to arrive on that day, all of those kind of things. That's just another added piece to that communication pie, where the information is readily available when requested, and can be seen by anyone, anywhere, regardless of the method that they're trying to look at it through. The next point, invest in a warehouse management system. So any good 3PL will have a warehouse management system to allow you to see your orders in real time as they're being processed, and the status of those orders in the warehouse that's doing the fulfillment for you. Additionally, you can see your inventory on hand. You can, through any kind of a method, affect that inventory, whether that's putting inventory on hold, putting inventory on quality hold, whatever the case is. A good 3PL will have a warehouse management system that not only allows them to fulfill your orders for themselves internally in the most efficient method, but it also allows you to have a span of control as well within that process. The next point, take advantage of automated data collection. So that whole automated piece is key, whether that's, being able to set up direct downloads of information to and from, or whether that's to get reports to and from, or tracking numbers, or whatever the case. The automated processes are definitely more accurate than anything where you're looking at a lot of manual intervention and hand entering. So the more advantages that your 3PL and that your warehouse is able to take of automation to where the processes are automatically happening and happening in a more efficient manner, the better off they're going to be. The next point, establish a start to finish plan for reverse logistics. So what that means is returns. And we talked about this a little bit previously, but we'll expand upon it here. Returns can come through a multitude of different ways. You can get them directly back from your end user. You can get them back from a distributor, but you need to plan for how you're going to handle returns. And so that means is if you're talking about directly from an end user, how is that end user going to flag an item for return? How are they going to get a shipping label? How are they going to know where to send that good back to? And then how are you going to either issue a replacement unit, or how are you going to refund their purchase price? And then what's going to happen with the good after they returned it? You need to set up criteria for inspection of the good upon return, and then a plan for, is that good going to be returned to stock? And if it is going to be returned to stock, is the packaging still in good condition? Does it have to be repackaged? What all is needed to get that good either back into a known good condition that meets all of your specifications so it can go back out to market, or if that good does not meet those specifications and can't, is it something where you can utilize parts off the good, or do you have to destroy the good? And then in addition to that, there may be some advantage to even investigating the destroy in field premise, where if the good is beyond a certain condition, you just have your end user directly destroyed in the field so you don't incur the shipping costs, and the good is just taken out of circulation and out of service. So there is cost associated with all of those pieces of the puzzle, and establishing that start to finish plan and a span of control for how you're going to handle it is key for a good fulfillment process. The next point, keep multiple lines of communication open. So we talked about communication in some of the previous slides, but just to get back to it and reiterate again, that communication point is key. Those conversations about not only your expectations and what your customers' expectations are, but a good 3PL will be able to tell you things that they see, potential methods of failure, potential error avenues, or things like that to keep your business safe, keep your goods safe, and to ensure your customers get the best experience possible. There's no such thing when you're taking orders directly to market as over communication, not only of your expectations, but your 3PL's expectations and the things that they see to help keep your customer engaged and safe and your orders flowing. The next point, minimize touches, value stream mapping. So when you're talking about setting up order fulfillment, whether that's internal to you or whether that's internal to a 3PL, your 3PL should be able to tell you what all the steps of their process are. And when you outline what your expectations are, they should work with you to map out those steps in the process and say, okay, this is what we're talking about. These are the steps in between those channels, and this is the cost associated with every single one of these steps, and this is the time associated with that step. So this is how long it takes from the time that your order is entered to the time that we can get the order out the door and in the hands of your customer. Understanding that is key to being able to meet your customers' expectations. Additionally, it will allow you to understand factors which you may not have thought about before. As soon as you start putting the steps directly out on paper, one of the biggest revelations I continually see are, well, we didn't think about this, we didn't think about that, we forgot about that. Sometimes seeing those kind of things in real time is key to your overall success. The next point, practicing ongoing cycle counting. So we talked about the whole inventory control. So cycle counting is a provision of inventory control. So what cycle counting is it's counting the amount of inventory that you have on hand physically versus the systematic count that your warehouse management system has. So what you're doing in this case is you're either taking a daily count of a certain number of products and saying this count matches, or you're doing it quarterly or biannually or just a single time annually based on how your product turns. But having some kind of plan for cycle counting and inventory control is something you should definitely discuss with your 3PL. And you should also discuss the accuracy of that count. What is an acceptable accuracy to you? Are you willing to, have less accurate inventory, or do you want to have your stuff counted on a continual basis to ensure your inventory is accurate and that you can fulfill the orders that your customer presents to you? And the final point of this, hire a fulfillment center with a proven track record, someone that can walk the talk, as we talked about in the previous slide, and is able to give you data and customer testimony around the levels of service that they are offering, and ultimately is willing to bring you in and show you the processes directly in real time. When you're working with the 3PL, they should encourage you to come and take a tour of their facilities, see what goes on, and just get a feel for not only them as people, but their service offering directly in person.
Wow, that's a lot of information, Mark. And it's a great checklist. So is this something that Scarborough could just take care of for me?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. We offer every different level of intervention for clients. We have some clients that already have all of this stuff established and are, just looking for us to meet their already established standards. And we have other clients where this is their first time ever taking a good to market, and all of these things are kind of unknown for them. And we're basically walking them through the process as we go and letting them know all of the pitfalls to be aware of and what is typical for a fulfillment servicing process. So we can absolutely offer whatever level of service is required based on the level of intervention that the customer feels is necessary. And when we do our initial contact with the customer and our initial calls, I kind of feel out, where everyone stands and what information that they have available and what their experience level is in this process. And then based on that, I will offer varying different levels of service.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.